Okay, so yes, make sure you are here. That is the most important thing. Use Google Classroom. You get caught up if you're not here. Class, period 4 at least, starts at 1:53 Monday to Thursday. It starts at 11:29 on Fridays. That means you are expected to be in here and ready to go at that time. If the bell has already gone, you will find the door in that position. Closed. Stay on the other side of it. Don't knock. Don't make faces at people through the window. You're late. Okay? I will acknowledge you through the window. Okay? And I will let you in when it is an appropriate time and not an interruption to all the people who got here on time and the learning that is going on. Okay? Now, you're not going to be out there very long. Okay? Most of the time it's like, oh, I see you, I'll give you the wave in, you just come in as quietly as possible. Okay? Now, if you get this look from me, that means you're late a lot. And I'm probably disgusted and you might stay out there a little longer. Okay? Try not to be that person. Okay? That doesn't usually end well for people. Okay? Please be on time. Okay. Resources available to you. Okay, we've talked about a few of these here, but Google Classroom is obviously the biggest one. I sent out invitations to everybody yesterday. Okay, so if you were in Christ the Redeemer or this school in particular last year, you should have got that email unless you were added to the class since yesterday at about 2 o'clock. Okay, if that's the case, the join code is right here. At this time, you may take out your phone if you have not already joined the classroom and attempt to do that. If you are new to Christ the Redeemer, you will need to see me after class and I can get you your username and password and then you'll be able to sign in. So because this is an educational purpose, that's the key wording, I've read it all. Okay, you may have your phone up for like the next 2 minutes doing that particular task and then it has to be put away again. Okay, so that'll happen from time to time. We will use your phones when we do a lab, because all of our data measuring equipment speaks to an app on your phone via Bluetooth. So it'll be, okay guys, it's a lab today, everybody go grab their phone and we got to use your phone to collect the data. We're allowed to do that, teacher's discretion periodically, okay? But most of the time they will be on that thing on the wall that's not there yet, but will be soon. Okay? So just make sure you're in there, okay, in Google Classroom. Okay, so the Google Classroom will look, okay, like, oh. Okay, will look like this. So you guys are Physics 20 period 4. Okay, and you can see I've already posted a few things in there. Each day, I'll do what I'm doing right now, which is record everything on the smartboard. Okay, and the microphone is right here. It usually just picks me up, but occasionally it'll pick up a question. If you ask a question and you speak loudly enough, it'll pick you up, but it's not enough to identify you. And if I'm recording, most of the time I'll probably record period 3, and then if I mess something up with period 3, I'll use you guys as my backup recording. So if I'm recording, I don't call you by name. Okay, so there'll be no way to really identify you in a recording. Not that anyone's going to watch something on YouTube called Science or Physics 20 Lesson 2. Okay, it's kind of a boring, no one searches for that. Okay, so that'll be in there and it'll be posted here. It'll say I posted new material, kinematics lesson 1, and I'll have the link to the YouTube video. Watch that. Do what we did. Okay, so if we did questions from the workbook, you're going to do those same questions, that kind of thing. Okay, in the class work tab, okay, you will find all the materials that you need. Okay, so notes and worksheet packages, those will be important. Okay, they take a little while to load because they're kind of big, but when you click on that, you'll see them come up over here. Because you can't have your phone with you at your desk, we can't do what you did in grade 10, which is, hey, just bring the notes package up on your phone and follow along. We won't be able to do that anymore. Okay, so your options for notes are, if you have a Chromebook or a laptop already, okay, and you feel comfortable bringing that to school and using it in class, that is allowed on your desk. Okay, that's not considered a portable or mobile device. Okay, so you could have that and you could type right in your Google Doc file that will be there eventually when that finally loads. Okay, you can do that, or you can print them at home, bring them in on paper, that's totally fine too. Or you can just take the notes by hand. Okay, but you will always, through Google Classroom, eventually have access to the notes packages on here. For tomorrow, or as soon as possible, it would be good for you to have the notes package and the workbook for Unit 1. Okay? The notes package is the whole course. Okay? The worksheet packages are by unit, just print the one for Unit 1. Okay? At the bare minimum, you need to have the workbook. Okay? If you don't have the notes package, that's okay. You can take notes by hand, or just know that I have the notes on my computer at home. I can see them whenever. Okay? But you do need the worksheet package. I don't know why that's taking forever to load, guys. Just go to this one. Okay, so you go to notes and worksheet packages, you'll see, okay, there'll be a notes package, that's for the whole course, and then there's workbooks by unit, okay? So you'll need the kinematics one. This notes package is in color. If you're printing it, don't print it that way. Print it in black and white. Okay? Otherwise, you're going to have one of those Shaquille O'Neal cartridge conniptions. Okay, because you'll empty out all your color stuff. Okay, just print it in black and white because it's like 60 pages or something. Okay, so if you're going to print that, print it in black and white and save some ink. Okay, and have the kinematics one, also print that in black and white. Okay, ready to go. Okay, so notes package optional. Okay, you can take notes by hand if you want, but the worksheet package you'll need. All right, questions on that? Okay, so like I said, every day I will post in the stream what we do. It'll show up there, okay, and that's how you can follow along, including labs. Okay, when I assign the labs, okay, they'll show up up in here. That's probably not visible to you right now, okay, but once I assign a lab, it will be in there, and you'll be able to access it, and in there will be everything you need. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'll post all of that stuff. You got the join code. All right, yeah, we've talked about all the section 2. Okay, section 3, okay, just classroom behavioral stuff, making sure everybody, most importantly, feels safe, included, and welcome in this classroom. Okay, and the way to do that is to treat each other with respect. That is another reason why the phone rule has been mandated by the province. Okay, again, don't shoot the messenger, it wasn't me. Okay, but why it was mandated, a lot of the distractions that were found to be occurring were related to things like cyberbullying and stuff like that. At least the phones are off, no one's getting those notifications, and it's not as much of a distraction, at least during class. So that's another reason for that rule coming in. Okay, so in class, okay, treat each other with respect. Okay, no one should ever feel afraid to be in here because of someone else in the class. Okay, if that is the case, if you do, please bring it to my attention and I will solve the problem. Okay, because I'm a fixer. That's the type of person. Okay, but yeah, that everyone should feel safe, included, and welcome. I will always treat you with respect. I'm never going to single you out in front of the rest of the class and humiliate you. That would be completely wrong. Okay, and I would expect that you wouldn't do that to somebody else in the class either. Okay. Listen up. Those are my cues, or that's my cue that I need your full and undivided attention. So both eyes forward, ready to go. Could be, hey, listen up, we're starting Unit 1 in kinematics today. Okay, or listen up, we're headed across to the lab. We need to grab our phones to collect some data. Let's go. Okay, listen up, the room is on fire. We have to get out of here right now. Okay, if I say listen up, I need your full and undivided attention. Okay, work in class. Okay, I don't check homework. Right? If we're working on some questions from the worksheet book and I'm like, okay guys, today we're going to work through questions 1 through 25. Okay? If you only get done up to 19, should you go and finish the other 6? Probably. I would, but I'm not going to check them. As your teacher, I'm not walking around the classroom the next day to make sure you have all 25 done. Okay? That's on you. That's part of your learning. Okay? I've told you these are the ones to do. You should do them. Okay? But I'm not going to check. The stuff that comes in for marks, lab reports and assignments, obviously, yeah, that has to get done and handed in to me. That will be graded in return. Okay? And you'll have a quiz every Friday. Okay? You can have a weekly quiz that will be on the last week's worth of material. Okay? Usually the last, like, let's say, 4 to 7 days worth of class material. That's what the quiz will be on. Okay? Those are the things that are actual homework, okay, that you'll have to get done. Okay, now if you're doing all of that stuff, okay, the purpose of that is to kind of tell you where you're at. Do you need to come in and see me for help? Okay, if you do, these are my help times. Okay, I'm here basically all the time because I have no life. Okay, you're young, you have a life. I'm old, I don't. Okay, but the only morning I'm not available is Tuesday morning because that's when we have our staff meetings. Okay, I'm here first half of lunch Monday, Tuesday, second half of lunch Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm here after school Monday, Wednesday, Thursday till about 4 o'clock. Okay, you can come in any of those times and get help and ask questions. I also will, if you've got a lab report, let's say, and you did it ahead of time, it's finished, it's not due for a couple of days, you can bring it in and say, or you don't have to bring it in, you can say, Mr. Coderre, can you check over my lab? And I'll bring it up in Google Classroom and I'll look it over and I'll give you some feedback. Okay, sometimes it's like, wow, this is perfect, turn it in right now. Okay, and other times it's like, you know, question number 2 was actually asking about this. Maybe you got confused a little bit. Can you talk about this topic in your answer instead and tweak it a little bit? Or you forgot to do your hypothesis, make sure you go do that. I'll catch those little things that, you know, nickel and dime your mark a little bit. And, you know, you get a little bit better mark, you learn a little bit more. I'm totally willing to look things over if they're done ahead of time. P.S. ahead of time is not 8:28 the morning they're due. Okay, that's not ahead of time. You should have them handed in at that point. Okay, so you're responsible for that stuff. That will help you achieve academic success. Okay, if I find you're not completing your work, you know, like it's like October and you still haven't handed anything in to me, that will result in a phone call home. Okay, and I'm going to say, Mom and Dad, you know, little Johnny's really struggling to get his work done. I have nothing to evaluate him with because he's handed in absolutely nothing so far, and I'm very worried. So I'm going to start bringing him in at lunch until he's all caught up. Okay. The answer from parents on that is usually, really, you're going to do that? What can we do to help you? Oh man, you don't want them to ask me that. You're not going to like what I say. Okay? The Xbox will disappear, the car keys will be gone. Okay? You'll be like in the gray bar hotel getting bread and water until you're caught up. Okay? So just get your stuff done on your own and then we won't have to cross that bridge. I can't remember the last time I actually had put somebody on that bridge, but okay, so if that all happens, if you're doing all that, you shouldn't have to worry about your unit exams. You'll be prepared for them. Okay, you'll be ready. You'll know your stuff. Okay, there are no rewrites. Okay, just so everybody knows that, putting that out there the first day. There's no rewrites. There's a bit of a safety net of sorts on a unit exam. If you do really poorly, I'll have you come in and work with me a little bit on something, and then I can, you know, kind of massage the grade a little bit. Okay, it's not a rewrite, it's just kind of a little safety net if you were to have a really bad day. Okay, something like that. Okay, but you should be well prepared for tests the first time around. Okay, and fairness versus equality. So I'm always going to try to be fair. Fair over equal. Okay, because equal's not always fair. If I treat everybody exactly the same, you know what, that everybody comes from a different place. Everybody's got different challenges, okay, things that go on for them, okay, and I try and tailor each situation on its own merits, okay. So I'll give you an example. If you were in my Science 10 class, you'll have heard this story before, but I had a bunch of kids back when we were handing in lab reports on paper, so they're all lined up at my desk to hand in their reports, and they all hand them in except the last 2 people in line, okay. Second last person, Cody. God, that guy would be late for his own funeral. Okay, dude was always late for class. He never had anything done on time, and he was always that second last or last in line to tell me why. Now, to his credit, he was always brutally honest with me about why it wasn't done. He never tried to shine me on. It was always, yeah, this is why I didn't do it. So, as usual, he comes up like, again, Cody, like, I gave you a week and a half to do this thing that would have taken you 30 minutes to do, tops. Yeah, I know. And I know you tell me not to leave it till the last minute, but damn, the season finale, my favorite show, was on last night, and it was 10 o'clock when it was on. So I was just going to do it after. I'm like, do you see the problem with that plan? You were going to do it at 11 o'clock the night before it was due. I know, Coderre, but that's how I roll. I'm like, Cody, you're rolling backwards. Like, it's not good. I know, but it's not done, and that's why, and I'm sorry. All right, well, you're going to take the late penalty, because you always take the late penalty, and it's not done again, so give it to me when you can. 5 days later, yeah, done, whatever. Okay. The girl behind him, she was like one of the strongest students in the class. Everything was handed in on time. She was super organized, always had her stuff together. But I looked at her, and I thought, if she'll have to get better to die. That's how awful she looked, how sick she looked. She was literally green. and like swaying, like her balance was way off. She was really, really sick. And that's not like her. I'm like, what are you doing here? You look terrible. I know that sounds terrible for a person to say, but I did it in a caring way. And it's like, are you okay? No, Mr. Coderre, not in my lab now. I'm like, well, I think that's probably looking at you the least of your worries right now. Like, what's going on? Well, I know you just said to Cody I shouldn't leave it till the night before. And I don't usually, Mr. Coderre. I just have the conclusion left. That's all that's not done. I'm like, okay, well, what happened? Well, and then the waterworks start, and it's like tears are welling up in the eyes of Mr. Coderre. My parents had this like really big fight last night, and they stormed out of the house, and I left me with my brothers and sisters to feed. Nothing was laid out, so I had to pull chicken out of the freezer, and I didn't cook it enough. And they spent the whole night throwing up. I'm like, go home. Like, I'm sorry that that's happened to you. Like, that's awful, and I hope that everything's going to be okay. She's like, yeah, it's not the first time, Mr. Coderre. It's just hard when it happens. Yeah, I'm sorry that's happening to you. But you don't look well, and if you're okay, you should go home. You probably shouldn't drive yourself because you look terrible, and you're probably not fit to drive because it looks like you can't even stand. But you should go home and rest and get the report in when you can. I'm not worried about it. It's just your conclusion. 6 hours later, I had the report because that's who she was. But I didn't dock her late marks. Stuff happens. Life happens. I get that. Okay? If you're not done and you've got a valid reason, just talk to me about it. I'm a pretty understanding person. Okay? Now, I've probably been duped. Okay? Probably people have come up and given me an Oscar-worthy performance, complete with tears. Okay? About some sob story about why they didn't have it done that wasn't true. Okay, I'm just gonna have to live with that. That's something I'll sort out with God later. Okay, but it's not my issue, so be it. Okay, but I'm an understanding person. If you come up and it's a decent reason, you're like, oh, Mr. Coderre, I was working on it, and then, you know, my dog died. Like, okay, like, yeah, that sucks. That can happen. Okay, don't leave it till the night before is also a good thing to keep in mind, because you ever seen those Mayhem commercials? You know, the insurance guy, Mayhem strikes. He knows when you're least prepared. And that's when he will strike. The internet will go down when you're working on the lab report that's due at 8:30 in the morning at 11 o'clock the night before. Okay, that's just how Murphy's Law works. Okay, get it done ahead of time and you have less problems. Okay, but come if you have a legitimate reason, come and talk to me. I'm pretty understanding. Okay. Okay, so obviously that's fairness versus equality. If I treated everybody equally, they'd both got a late penalty, and that would have been the end of it. Okay, but I didn't think that was fair in that situation. Now, if you ever think that I have treated you unfairly, you should call me on it. Okay, you can come up and ask me later, okay, like after class, something, Mr. Coderre, like, this is how that made me feel. Okay, I really don't feel like that was fair. And if I'm like, geez, I did not see it from that perspective, I'll own that. Okay, I'm not that proud. I'll own it if I make a mistake. Okay, but it's okay to come and talk to me about it if you feel I haven't been fair. Okay, accountability. So obviously, due dates, timelines, okay, you're growing up, okay? This is the start of real life, so have your stuff done on time. It's life skills, it's things you gotta learn to do. Okay, questions on any of that first stuff? Okay, marks. Okay, so all this stuff here in section 4 is about marks. Okay. The first thing is, you can't come up to my desk in class and say, Mr. Coderre, can you explain to me why I did so badly on my lab report? I can't do that in class. First off, I've got to be teaching, you got to be working. And I can't talk to you about your mark in front of 30 other people. Okay, that's just a FOIP thing. I'm not allowed to do that. But if you come in and scheduled help or before school or any of my help times and say, Mr. Coderre, I really don't understand why I didn't get marks here or there, then I'll explain it. That's no problem. Okay, and unless it's an adding thing. If I added it wrong, just bring it up to my desk. I don't mind changing the mark because I added wrong. Okay, but if it's something where there's a question, okay, I can't do that in front of everybody. Okay, and it's also about the way you come and talk to me. Okay, most of the time people are like, Mr. Coderre, I really don't understand. Please explain. Okay, versus the guy that came up to my desk and was like, that mark sucks. Okay, in front of this many people. And my response is, sure does. Sit down. That's your mark. I mean, this is my house. I get to win here. Okay? But if you come up confrontationally like that, that's the kind of response you're going to get. I mean, yes, it is. It does suck, but you deserve it, so sit down. Okay? But if you come up and it's like, Mr. Coderre, look, I really don't understand, that's fine. That's my job to explain it. Okay, and if you come out that way, that'll be no problem. Okay, we'll talk about marks distributed according to the syllabus in a minute, just what percentages are what. Okay, all work submitted by you must be your work. Okay, so when we hand in a lab report or an assignment, okay, it has to be yours. Okay, if I'm reading through lab reports, like a whole class set of them, and I read the same hypothesis 3 times, okay, it wasn't your work. It's okay to work with other people and get ideas and share ideas. I got no problem with that. Okay, but your work has to be yours. It has to be at least somehow unique to you. Are there going to be parts of the lab report that can be identical? Yeah. Your data is going to be the same. You guys worked together. You collected the same data. Of course that can be the same. Okay, but anything that you are expected to write yourself needs to be yours and yours alone. Okay? Because if you're just copying off of somebody else, okay, first off, I'm probably going to be able to tell. Okay? And even if I can't tell, you're not learning that material because you're copying it off of somebody else. And it's going to bite you on the quizzes and tests. Okay? And I don't want that for you. I want you to learn it. That means you need to do your work. Okay? All assignments and labs that are due through Google Classroom at least are due at 8:30 a.m. on the due date. Okay? So anything assigned through Google Classroom that you're submitting electronically needs to be submitted by 8:30 because after 8:30 you have to surrender your phone in whatever class you're in, so you won't be able to work on it. Okay, on your phone in class and be distracted from that class. So 8:30 a.m., that's when they're due. If they're not in by 8:30, Google Classroom will automatically tag them late for me. Okay, which means you'll suffer the late penalty. Now, I understand that sometimes you just forget to turn it in, like, and I'll get it turned in at the break. If it's turned in late, what I generally do is go back and check the revision history to see when you last worked on it. If the last time you worked on it was the night before, I know you just forgot to turn it in, and I'm generally forgiving on that. But if I see that you've worked on it after 8:30, no, you're getting a late mark. Okay, that was legitimately late then. Okay. Okay, so remember that being absent does not exempt you from the work. Okay, if you were absent the day we did the lab, all the material is there. You can come and talk to me, but it's due the same day as it is for everybody else, unless there's really extenuating circumstances which you come and talk to me about. Okay, late assignments are penalized 30% immediately. It's just I'm not going to count, oh, this one's 5 days late, that one's 10 days late. I don't have that kind of time. Okay, it's late, it's late. Okay, being late is like alive and dead. Late is not like grades of laundry. This is really dirty, this is really, really dirty, this is clean. Okay, there aren't different grades of late. It's late or not. Okay, so it's 30% if it's late. Here's why. You will get your assignments back from me the next day, every time. In 25 years of teaching, I have failed to do that once. Okay? The day my second son was born, I chose to hold my wife's hand while she gave birth to our son, as opposed to sitting there with a laptop marking labs. I stand by that decision. It was the right decision. Okay? Labs were given back the day after that. Okay? So I failed that day by 1 day. In 25 years, that's all that's happened. Okay, I plan around it, I make sure the marking can get done, you'll have it back the next day, and we will go through it in class the next day. Okay, because if it takes me 3 weeks to get something back to you, you don't remember a thing about that from 3 weeks ago. I don't remember what happened 3 days ago. Okay, 3 weeks ago, forget it. Okay, so I want to give it back to you right away and go through it so that you get the learning out of it. That's why the late penalty is so steep. If you're just sitting here in class writing down all the answers, that's hardly fair. Okay, agreed? All right, quizzes. Every Friday there will be a review quiz. We talked about that a little bit. On the last, it says 2 to 4 there, but it could be up to 6 days, okay, depending on how long the topic is. Okay, there are many practice quizzes and a link to solution videos in Google Classroom. So if you go into Google Classroom here, in the classwork tab, you will see practice quizzes and solutions. Okay, so for kinematics, if I click on kinematics, okay, what comes up? Oh, okay, I'll have to fix that. For some reason, those didn't come through. Okay, the first link is to a playlist on my YouTube channel. That's the solutions for all the quizzes. So the quizzes will have like kinematics quiz 1. Okay, that'll be the PDF. You just open that up and try the questions. 5-10 minutes is all each one of those practice quizzes will take you. Okay. Then you click in here and you go to kinematics quiz number 1. And it's a video of me going through the question step by step. Okay, so probably do a couple of those a week. That's kind of your homework. Okay, again, I'm not going to check that, but through the week I might say, hey guys, these are the 2 quizzes you should probably look at this week. Okay, those quizzes will be a lot like the quiz you're going to get on the Friday. Okay, making sense? I'll fix that. I don't know what's going on with that, but I'll fix it. Because that should just show all the quiz names. Weird. Yeah, okay, we'll fix that. Okay, and then lastly, okay, use of artificial intelligence. Okay, the point of this course is to have you add to and develop your own intelligence. While AI can be useful, it should not be used to do your learning for you. That makes our future machine overlords smarter, not you. That's bad. Okay, so don't give them any more to use. Okay, using AI on assignments and/or labs is considered a form of plagiarism or cheating. Okay, in addition, if AI has done all the stuff for you when quizzes and tests come around and you don't have it, you're pretty screwed. Okay, and that I don't want for you. I want you to learn the material for yourself. Okay. All right, questions on section 4? Okay, syllabus part here. What are we doing in this course? We got 4 units. Okay, first unit will start today, that's kinematics. Happily, a lot of that will seem very familiar. Okay, we'll start off with scalar and vector quantities, speed and velocity, distance and displacement, v equals d over t. Okay, all that stuff you did in Science 10, so it'll be very familiar. Okay, and a little bit of vector stuff. Okay, forward, backward, okay, that kind of thing. And then after that, we'll go on to vector addition, vector component addition. That will bring trigonometry into the equation. Okay, so just to be perfectly honest with you, there's a lot of trig in the first half of this course. Okay, and by a lot, I mean a lot. Okay, many of your problems will have trigonometry in it. Okay, and that's not meant to scare you, it's just to be totally honest with you. Okay, there's a fair amount of trig in units 1 and 2 because we deal with what we call 2-dimensional vectors. In Science 10, the only vectors you dealt with were like north and south, forward and backward, left and right. They were always 1-dimensional. It was either positive or negative. Okay, in Physics 20, we're going to start bringing in like the object goes 30 degrees east of north and then turns and goes 40 degrees south of east. Well, now you're going to have to draw triangles that have north components, east components, do trigonometry, use sine, cos, and tan. Okay, all of that stuff is going to come in, okay, and there'll be a fair amount of it, and we'll spend quite a bit of time on vector addition in Unit 1 and use it again quite a bit in Unit 2. Okay. We'll do graphing, same graphs you did in Science 10, position versus time, velocity versus time. Okay, we'll do some acceleration. You guys in Science 10 only had 1 acceleration formula. We have 5, but it's just acceleration. It's just an object changing velocity. They're just different formulas. Okay, and then at the very end of the unit, we kind of put it all together into projectile motion. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that you'll recognize from real life, real world applications of things. Okay, in this whole course really, but that unit as well. Okay, that unit will take us up to around Thanksgiving, somewhere in there. Okay, middle of October, okay, kind of thing. Okay, unit after that is going to deal with very similar motions, very similar situations, okay? But it's going to deal with it not from just the movement perspective, the speeds, the distances, things like that. It's going to deal with it from the forces perspective. Go pick that up, Dustin. Okay, it's going to deal with the forces that cause that. Okay, what caused that object to accelerate in that direction? Well, it was pushed by this much force. Okay, in this we're going to deal with Newton's first, second, and third laws. Okay, and then after that we'll go into stuff that seems a little more familiar. Work energy theorem. We did that in Science 10. We add on to it a little bit, but it's basically the same. And law of conservation of mechanical energy. EI equals EF. We actually do it exactly the same as you did in Science 10, so it should seem familiar. Okay, that'll take us up to middle of November-ish, somewhere in there. Okay, usually around Remembrance Day. And then Unit 3 tends to be the shortest and usually the easiest of the 4 units. Okay, it's circular motion, so we talk about what is necessary for something to move in a circle, okay, different types of circular motion, why you feel lighter when you take the speed bump out there too fast, okay, or like you guys take it always. I don't know, kind of laugh with you guys when it's supervision out there and I'm watching people going over that speed bump. Okay, but I'm a physics guy, so I know why it's happening. Okay, and so will you after that unit. Okay, and then we also talk about gravitation, because obviously things to do with gravity often lead to orbits, which are circular, and so we'll be talking about that kind of stuff in that unit. That'll take us up to first week of December maybe. Okay, and then we'll start the last unit. Okay, we usually get about half of it done before Christmas, that part being simple harmonic motion, so pendulums and masses on springs and things like that, which then leads to mechanical waves, which are usually caused by an object oscillating with simple harmonic motion. We talk about how waves transmit, move, use energy, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, in that part, that'll take us up to the middle of January, and that'll be it. Okay, then you'll have your final exam. So, marks distribution goes as follows. Your unit exams are 40% of your final grade, so each one's 10. Okay, each unit exam is 10% of your final grade. Your labs, assignments, and projects, okay, so that's the lab reports, things like that we do in class, you can come and get feedback on from me, okay, those are 17.5%. Your quizzes are 17.5%. Okay, now, if you do the math on that, guys, if we're doing one quiz a week for the entire semester, okay, you're going to have like 20 quizzes by the end, okay? So, you know, doing poorly on one quiz is not the end of the world. Doing badly on 10 of them would be more like the end of the world, but okay, if you have, you know, a little blip here or there, it's not the end of the world. Each quiz is not a make or break your mark kind of situation, okay? And then your final exam is 25%, okay? All right, questions on any of that? Okay. Other things, can I have food and drink in here? Yes, you can. If you make a mess, you clean it up, okay? But yes, it's totally fine for you to have that. What do I need for this class? You need at the bare minimum a scientific calculator that has the trigonometric functions on it, okay? Now, you guys are in grade 11, so you probably have a graphing calculator already, okay? If you do, that's more than enough for what we're doing, okay, so any of the TI, whatever we're on, 2.5 million, okay, I don't know what model we're on now, but there's a lot, okay, that'll work great if you have that, so will that. I think that's $13 at Walmart, okay, so that'll do too, it's got all the stuff we need on it, okay, that can do if you don't want to shell out $100 and some bucks for one of these, okay, that works just fine as well. Okay, so scientific calculator at the bare minimum, paper, pencils, pens. That's what you need. Okay? What do you need to print as soon as possible? Worksheet package for Unit 1, and then however you want to take notes is up to you. Okay? If you want to have a printed copy with you at all times, do that. If you want to take the notes and write it down every class, that's fine. I'll usually give you some tips on, hey, this is the really important part of this one, so you're not having to copy everything word for word. Okay? Totally up to you how you want to do that. Okay, I'll leave that part up to you, but the notes package is there, and you'll need it when you're preparing for exams. Okay, the worksheet package, that you should have for sure. It's much shorter, you won't kill your printer by printing this. Okay, obviously the closest bathrooms are right outside the door. Girls' bathroom is right there, boys' bathroom is right there. The gender neutral ones are closer to the gym. Okay, if you need to take a break, okay, like I get it, okay, if, you know, your anxiety gets triggered by something, it happens, okay, and you're just like, I need to go for a walk, or I need to go see Jen or PJ, like, that's okay, right? I totally get that. I suffer from it myself, okay, and it's just weird, suddenly it gets triggered for like no apparent reason, and you're just struggling with it. And just say, Coder, go for a walk, fine, go, right? If you end up going to see PJ or Jen, please have them email me. They usually do, they're pretty good about that, but if you've said, I'm struggling, I need to go, and you're gone for like 10 minutes, I'm gonna worry about you, okay? Because again, I know how that stuff works, and I know how it feels, and I'll worry. And then I'll be in the same situation. I'll be up here, my hands will be shaking, and, okay? So just let me know, okay? It's okay to go, I'm totally fine with that, okay? Just let me know so that I know you're safe, okay? Are you good with that? Fair? Okay. I think that's it. We don't have to talk about, can I listen to music? No, because your phones will all be over there. I'll shut it off. So weird. It's like a total like culture change now. I'm old, so I remember when the only people who had cell phones were doctors and drug dealers, so it's very different for me. And everybody learned just fine back then, okay, when nobody had a phone and access to the internet all the time. I'm sure you guys will do just fine too. It's gonna be an adjustment. I'm even finding today, like, I don't have my phone on me, I put it away, so I'll be like you guys, and like, is the world still turning? Okay, I can't check, like, yeah. Okay, we'll get used to it. Change is hard, but we'll get used to it. Okay, any other questions from you guys? All right, I'm gonna give you a couple minutes, take some breaths, take a break, and then we're gonna get on to the course material. You can.